the content that we're putting out is attracting a lot of people, particularly our content on the CCV, because nobody covers it like we do. Yes. And the American people out there, and even people I know in Europe and England, they can't figure out, hey, what's all this stuff with China? China looks like it's overwhelming people. Once we explain to them kind of the Miles Guo school of deconstructing the criminal enterprise, which is what's housed in Beijing. The first thing I tell you right now, when we're on the show and we talk about only 90,000 Chinese nationals are members of the Chinese Communist Party with a 1.2 or 1.3 billion population, people, I mean, they're in shock. Right now, the world basically thinks everybody in China is a communist. They don't realize that there's the party itself is quite small. And then the cadres, the ruling cadres, as you know, Miles taught us, is a couple of thousand, right? Maybe 5,000 max, but the factions that fight for power and control all the time, and particularly the power players, are probably under 1,000 people. This is one of the things that Miles Guo was like the Rosetta Stone to the West. Nobody really understood. For instance, in Kremlinology, we had a very good idea how the Kremlin worked, because we had defectors, so many intellectuals that come from Russia. You had, particularly, a lot of these great Jewish professors came that really knew how to break down the Politburo, break down the Bolsheviks. We had a very, very sophisticated understanding of the Politburo, and that even went out to the general public, the reading public. I remember coming as a kid, I made a couple of films after I started becoming a filmmaker back in the early 2000s. But I remember coming as a kid, as a paper boy, that information was in the papers all the time. You just had to read it. There's very few sophisticated breakdowns of the factions of the Chinese Communist Party. Most of those are in pretty obscure books. They are out there, but the information I've gone through all the information. I've read, hundreds of books on this topic. It's out there, but man, it is really, you got to do work. And you then have Miles Guo's broadcasts, which are just, a tremendous gift to the West to really define and break down, regardless of what you think of Miles Guo. If you just listen to his broadcast of his deconstruction of the power structure of the Chinese Communist Party, it's nothing short of brilliant. But that is what we need to promulgate more. You guys are doing a great job on it. And this is why we need to do more in Getter. We need to do more together. You guys on War Room, me on New Federal State, because people hunger. What we do know is when people get access to this information, they absorb it and they want more. And it's one of the reasons I think we're going up on this platform next week, is that they understand that, for all the unique stuff that we put out on War Room, one of the most unique things we put out is a very sophisticated look at the existential threat that is the Chinese Communist Party. And we take it from both Lao Baixing's perspective and the American perspective. And nobody does that. And that is what people hunger for, this content. I can tell you, I can see in the chat rooms, I can see when we present it, when we have you guys on, or when I repurpose and put the weekly interview you guys do with me, when I put it back up on my vertical over at Getter or over at Telegram or anywhere I put it, it gets a lot of comments and it gets a lot of traction.